Welcome! This is Learning GRASS GIS, tutorial number 4. On this tutorial, I will show you the basics of how to display your GRASS data into maps and how to use GRASS's built-in graphical user interface for 3D visualization. You will open GRASS's own graphical user interface to display your raster data and vector maps. Also, you will use various commands to view and manage how your data is displayed. And finally, you will open the 3D visualization graphical user interface to view your GRASS data in 3D. Before you continue with this tutorial, you should go to the notes and follow the links so you can learn more about the commands we're going to be using on this tutorial. We're going to start by opening our GRASS program. We're going to select the project location for North Carolina and our user number 1, and we'll go ahead and start it. So once our GRASS GIS Ledger Manager opens, you can see that on the right hand side it will also open the GRASS GIS map display at the same time. This is the area where our actual map will be displayed. So we're going to go ahead and start with this exercise. What we're going to do is we're going to display our elevation data as well as some stream and overpasses and major roads as a map. So we're actually going to see what the data that we have is going to look like as a map. And we're going to start that by using the command g.region. What this does is going to tell us tell GRASS GIS what the extent of the project that we're working with is. And once we go ahead and start it, we need to, we're going to add the flag -p. You need to look at the links on the tutorial notes, and so you can get a better understanding of what the commands do and what other options and flags they all have. So we're going to add the -p flag, which in this case is going to display the data that we have on that region. So once we select command and run the command, we are shown the extents of our project. You know, how far north goes, how far south goes, east, west, and as well as other information. Very helpful for the project once you start working with more data. So once we have that, we need to start then adding data to our map. So we're going to go ahead and do the display command D, and we're going to add a raster file or data bits, and we want to use the elevation raster data. So we're going to type elevation, and because that's the name of our data, if you remember how to look for it, that's how you will find the data. But just to show you again, we want to find what data we have available for a certain type. We're going to do the glist command, and we're going to do the raster data that we want. And as you can see on the list, one of our options is going to be the elevation, and that's what we're going to use on this example to start working on it. And also take a look, there's also another layer called elevation shades, where we're going to be using that too. So again, we're going to go back and we're going to display this elevation data as a map. So we're going to go ahead and add our raster. I'm sorry, we're going to display the raster. Oops. And we want the elevation data bits to show up. Elevation. Okay, once we have the elevation, we said, whoops, sorry, we hit enter. And you're going to have on your right hand side the map. The elevation data is going to show up as a map, starting to show up as a map. We want to add some shading so we have some depth perception of what this map will look like. So we're going to use the command d.his, H-I-S, and again, look at the notes for the links so you get a better understanding what these commands do and the flags and options that we'll be using. One of them is the H. We want to, again, the base map is going to be elevation, which is that we want to show with some depth perception. And another option it has is the I command or module, and we want to make that the other data bits that I showed you earlier, which is the elevation shades. Okay, and once we do that, we want to go ahead and hit enter. Oops, I misspelled that. Shades, elevation shade. Oh, it's only one shade. So elevation shade. This command will add some shading to our map on the right, so we will have some kind of a depth perception. It's not a 3D per se, it just gives the illusion that it's a 3D map by using shades and giving us that depth perception. So, but this look good, but now we need to add some other type of data on it, you know, maybe roads, any rivers that I might have, maybe bridges. So we're going to add all those three, and we're going to do that like this. Okay, we're going to start with the display command. I'm sorry, yes, display. So it's going to go d.v, and we want data type of vector data type. So we're going to go ahead and type D for display, vector, and we want to show the streams. So we type streams, and we want to give it a color so we can distinguish it from what we have. And color equals to, let's make it blue. You know, after all water is blue. And we go ahead and tell it to display it by hitting enter. And on your right hand side, you're gonna start looking or seeing what the your data that you're adding is looking like. Let's add more data. We're gonna do the same with some roads. So we're gonna display some roads. Oops, so we're gonna type it here, sorry. Displayed vector roads major, sorry. And let's make it a color yellow. So once we hit enter, it takes a couple of seconds to process the data, and on your right hand side again you see the roads already displayed in yellow. We're gonna do the same now for some just put some bridges on so we can get a better picture of what these roads are. So again, we do our display vector type. We want overpasses, overpasses, and we want to have an icon show up as the indication where the bridges are. So we use the parameter icon, and then we want to use what type of icon. You need to look at the notes. There's links there where you can see what type of icons you can use. We want to use the icon bridge on the set extra. Sorry. This will give us the bridge looking kind of icon, and we will give it a size that we can look, not too small, not too big. I'll make it 10, and we want to make color also that is going to be distinguishable from the data we already have in there. So, but the parameters for the icons or any solid object is a little bit different. So you need to read the notes for the links to give you an idea. In this case, the parameter is f col, as in fill color. So the inside of the icon will be the color we tell it to, and we want it to be red. So as soon as I hit enter and starts processing it, the bridges are going to show up red on the display on your right hand side, and it takes a couple of seconds for it to come up. And as you can see now, we have a map with some elevation with shades that gives us the perception of depth. Shit. We're gonna do the same with some roads. So we're gonna display some roads. Oops, so we're gonna type it here, sorry. Displayed vector roads major, sorry. And let's make it a color yellow. So once we hit enter, it takes a couple of seconds to process the data, and on your right hand side again you see the roads already displayed in yellow. We're gonna do the same now for some just put some bridges on so we can get a better picture of what these roads are. So again, we do our display vector type. We want overpasses, overpasses, and we want to have an icon show up as the indication where the bridges are. So we use the parameter icon, and then we want to use what type of icon. You need to look at the notes. There's links there where you can see what type of icons you can use. We want to use the icon bridge on the set extra. Sorry. This will give us the bridge looking kind of icon, and we will give it a size that we can look, not too small, not too big. I'll make it 10, and we want to make color also that is going to be distinguishable from the data we already have in there. So, but the parameters for the icons or any solid object is a little bit different. So you need to read the notes for the links to give you an idea. In this case, the parameter is f col, as in fill color. So the inside of the icon will be the color we tell it to, and we want it to be red. So as soon as I hit enter and starts processing it, the bridges are going to show up red on the display on your right hand side, and it takes a couple of seconds for it to come up. So as you can see now, we have a map with the elevation data that, along with the shading, give us a map with the perception of depth. We also have some roads. You can see some rivers and bridges. So this is how our data is displayed in GRASS GIS. And a continuation, next I'm gonna show you how to do this with the GRASS's own user interface, the graphical user interface built in into GRASS GIS. So now that you know how to do this with the command prompt, I'm going to show you how to do it using the graphical user interface that GRASS has. And we're going to do that. We're going to start it up by using the gis.m command. This will bring up our graphical user interface. And we go ahead and hit enter. So it will take a couple of seconds, but after it's done, it finishes opening. This is what you get. You get the GIS Manager North Carolina. Well, that's the location we're using. But this is the graphical user interface built into our GRASS GIS software. And it's just like the other one on your right-hand side. It's going to show up the display window. And you can see we still have our stuff on the background. This is where our map is, but you can see it because this thing just went over it. So what we just did, we're going to do that now using our graphical user interface. Some of you might find it easier to use this. Some of you prefer the command, but I will show you both and make your own mind which one you like. So we go on the layer manager, and we want to tell it, or we want to bring up a few layers. The first layer we want to bring, or the data we want to use, will be our elevation data. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to go ahead into the icons here. If you hover over them, it will display what you want on them. And in this case, we're going to use the raster layer manager. And we're going to bring up our elevation data. And what we want to use the elevation map, we're going to go ahead and if you look at the nodes, we want to use this section here. We're going to go ahead and use our elevation, and we want to give it the depth perception with the shading that we use on the other one, and we use that as the shade file. And once we did that, we go ahead and on the display section of it, on this icon right here, is the display active layers. We go ahead and select it, click it, and it will display our layer that we just created. Just like in the previous exercise, it's going to give us our layer with the shading, giving us that depth perception that looks better. And we want to add, just like on the other one, we want to add some roads, some bridges, and the map. And the rivers. So we got on this icon here, which is our vector layers. We're going to add some vector layers, and we want to use, I don't know if you can see everything there, but we'll mostly use just this area here. Later on, once we get more work done, then we'll work on this, but for now we're going to use the vector And we want to, let's start with streams again. So we look for the stream data set. And we want to draw blue. So we select blue. And that's it. That's all we need for this data set. We tell again to display it, to redraw it. And you can see now it has the blue lines, which are our rivers. And let's add another one, this time the roads. So as you remember, it's called roads measure. We go all the way to roads measure, click OK, and we might let's make them yellow again, so just like on the other one. And again, tell it to redraw it so we can see the roads once we added them. So now we have again the roads just like in the other exercise. And we're going to add some bridges. So again, vector, select our map, data set for bridges, which is called overpasses. And right there, this is the parameter I was talking to you about, the fill color. So we want this to be red, and draw lines, it's okay, we can leave them black, but so it can look all better, we'll make everything red. So once we do that, we go ahead and tell it to redraw it so we can see where the bridges are. And it takes a couple of seconds, but once it's done, you can see that on your right hand side, it shows the bridges as a dots. But we don't want that, right? We want to use the icon. I forgot that. So here, you can see it says point symbols. It's an icon. And right now it's on the basic set is as a circle. We want to change that. We want actually to look like a little bridge, right? So we go click on icon. And our icon, look at the links, and there's information there how to get or what the icons look like and where to get them. So the bridge icon we want is on the extra set, and we want it to look like a bridge. So we select bridge, okay, and let's make it 10. So we actually keep 15, a little bit bigger, so we can look at it. And we tell it again to redraw it with the new information, and now it will show up with the bridge looking icon. So we did the same exercise using our graphical user interface and the command prompt, and hopefully you guys can decide which one you guys like better. And what we're going to do next, we're going to open this file using our 3D visualization tool. And for that, we're going to go back to our command prompt. All right, so to do it, to bring up the 3D engine on the using the GRASS graphical user interface, we go back to our map that we created earlier. And as you can see on the display portion of it, there are several icons. One of them is to bring out the 3D by just clicking this icon here. So once we click this one, this is the nviz icon. It will take a couple of seconds, but it will give us the same map we got on the previous exercise displayed on 3D. And this is the map. As you see, is the same map as we had before. And again, you can play with the toggle switches here, so closer, farther, change how you map this place to you. So in a nutshell, that's how you bring out your 3D visualization tool on both the command prompt and using the graphical user interface. So whichever one you prefer, it will give you the same result. This is the end of tutorial number 4 for GRASS GIS. By now, or with this tutorial, you should be able to know how to open the GRASS GIS graphical user interface. Also, you will be familiar with some of the basic commands to view and manage how your data is displayed. And also, you should be able to know how to bring up or how to start the 3D visualization graphical user interface. If you think of anything else that you could have learned from this tutorial, let me know. Just leave me a note or an email, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for taking a look at these tutorials, and hopefully you're learning something. And there's my information where you can find me, and you can send me an email if you want. But we'll be coming up with tutorial number 5 pretty soon. Thank you.